It's October 4, Ukraine Media Center continues its operation. My name is Svetlana Sheperka, and now we will have a press conference dedicated to the theater and the premiere of a play on the 5th and 6th of October on the chamber stage at the National Theatre of Operetta. There will be a hosting of premiere of the performance of Make It 3 based on the play by Kherson author Alona Movchan. So our guest today is Alona Movchan, playwright, head of the literary and dramaturgy department of the Kherson Regional Academic Theater, named after Mykola Kulish, and Andrii Karpov, theater and film actor, TV presenter, founder at Arsenal Art Space. So Miss Alona, let me first ask you, it will be the joint project, and how have you come up with the idea of this partnership? How have you come up with the idea of creating something together? Well, it's not the first of our joint projects. Last year, within the framework of 25th Theatre International Festival, there was a play based on the novel of Andrii Matviichuk, directed by Nadia Ageeva-Shved. That was a joint project of Project Act Theater and Kherson Dramaturgic Theater. So what's interesting, this play contains the lines from Kherson authors. Nadia made the authors read their lines. We had this art resistance poetry collection issued in Kherson last year. So as the protagonist is riding a train, the lines are sounding in the background, and that play has won one of the nominations in the 10th International Film Festival Star Independence in Miami. You know, it's a recognition. There were plays demonstrated on TV. It was our joint project, first collaboration, and this summer Nadia wrote to me, like you're writing, and my play Kategoroshko Against Vikings was already put on the stage, directed by Sergei Pavlyuk. It was 2 theaters, Kherson and Mykola Academic Theaters, and Nadia is writing to me, you're writing, so let's make a comedy. And I was thinking, what can the comedy be about? The idea was supported by the director of Kherson Theater, Alexander Kniga, and the director of National Operetta, Mr. Bogdan Strutinsky, and we proceeded to work. The idea was to write a positive story. I told him, let's make this story positive. Let's make it a story about a couple from Kherson. We all used to be young. We all used to make our first steps. We used to start living together, establishing families. You know, in Kyiv there are many IDPs from Kherson, so it's a return to peaceful Kherson. Or I was making an announcement saying it's our plans for the future that the peace will be there with all the recollections. So it's about familiar locations, familiarness, but I think there were some changes, and Andrii may tell you in detail about that, because a lot was added. They leave it their way, the artists, the actors, the directors, they leave it in their way, but it's a work about positive, about home, about return to home and reunification. So let's talk about the changes made by the actors. To what extent have you been able to achieve this freedom in your own understanding, in your own rethinking of what was going on with the protagonists? Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Let me add to what Alona has said about the Star Independent. Star Independent is a film festival that was founded in Ukraine. I was a beneficiary. I was basically hosting this festival. And Alona Yeremchuk, who founded this festival, she moved to Miami. They've established their community there, and even regardless the fact that Miami is a Russian-speaking environment, they promote Ukrainian media products, theater products there. And I want to really extend all my appreciation of Alona and Ageeva who received that nomination. You said Ageeva was going, but she's still going. She was opening it, and she will continue doing that. So please come to Ageeva, to Kozlovsky Arts Center. We want to thank them for hosting us. And also, what I would like to add about Alexander Kniga, if all of the theatrical directors act as Mr. Kniga, you know, they would let those sprints of Kulish theater blossom all over Ukraine. That's the character of an artist who wants to popularize not only their city, but the culture through their city, theater through their city. It's really important. Given how the theater has grown in its scale, people have this demand to go to the theater. Now, if you cannot buy a ticket to Franco Theater or other mastodons of this sector, people are looking for niche theaters, and our Kozlovsky Art Center is one of such places that stages faithful artistic products. You don't have to follow mainstream. You have to follow your heart. And now let's get back to this play, Make It Free. It was an interesting work on this play. No, not the play specifically, but with all your messages that were laid as foundation. We were all young, and we're going to stay young. This is the foundation of this play, because the youth is not external, it's internal. If you're young inside, you allow yourself being young in everything, regardless anything. We can see the elderly people, the women, like putting all that makeup. We have such a character like Miss Alexandra, the actress of Kulish theater. We have Yulia, the short form of Iolanta Badnuk. Her name is different on stage, and if you want to hear her name on stage, you can come to Kozlovsky Art Center at 50 Khreshchatyk Street. We have premieres on the 5th and on the 6th. So I'm a person who came from periphery, from Preluki, Chernihiv region, a person who underwent an incredible stage of raising in a dormitory. There was time when I could move to an apartment. And the story in this play is when a young couple is looking for ways to outfit their apartment, to find their nest where they can stay alone, spend time with each other, to realize themselves as a couple. But there are obstacles emerging on their way, just like on the way of anybody who was trying to ever rent an apartment. And what is laid a foundation to those senses that I've lived through in Kyiv, renting apartments, and something that is laid as the foundation of this play, that despite any obstacles, love is a saving grace. It saves everything. If you respect your significant other, that they don't punish you for not failing to achieve something, but rather support you. You give the support in response, and it gives birth to good relationship that results in inspiration that can grow to a large-scale story. That was a brief description. Thank you so much. So before this broadcast, we were talking about this positive story, that it's about peaceful life. It's not about war. It's about the life we were used to. So why did you decide to put yourself aside from this topic? Why have you decided to write about that wishful future, or about that past peaceful life, without touching upon the current problematic topics? Well, Nadia wrote you, I'm joking, but you know, even during the war, The works about love are being born because love is what saves the world. There are significant topics touched upon in that play about the love and about your home, and the culmination will be the monologue of a protagonist played by or lived by Andrii, whose story is played by Andrii, and he says that home is the only place when you stand confidently on the ground. Love takes over everything, and as you come back home you feel yourself fulfilled, you feel yourself in the moment, right here and right now. Like, I live in Kherson, our theater works in Kherson, we work in shelters, and gradually Kherson is crawling into underground, but we continue working despite everything. And the women come to our place, we demonstrate small plays like 1-2 people, concerts, imagine scrubbing songs. We have scrubbing as a host. There is an orchestra made up of different musicians, and the women come wearing high heels with their makeup, wearing gorgeous dresses. People try to get away from this harsh reality. They try to forget. For somebody it may be important to continue watching the war topics, and they visit the place that cover war topics. Your question is quite extensive. For some of them it's important. They cannot come to a comedy play, for some to see some fun, and others want to see a concert program or a play that would allow them some escapism. And for Khersonians it's another reason to meet in Kyiv. The play will be demonstrated on the 10th of October during the Golden Lion Festival. 10th of October, right? And it's really incredible because the denizens of Lviv will be able to see Khersonians over there. This is something close to my heart. I used to be an IDP myself, living in Kyiv, and every meeting with the spectators was important. And in continuation of what you're saying, someone likes war topics, someone likes comedies, everybody goes through this trauma on their own. But what unites everybody is the increasingly growing interest into the theater in Ukraine. Well, you've mentioned that you make plays in the shelters and people prepared to those plays as big events. So to what extent the theater has changed, the spectators have changed, and in continuation, do you expect to see such a popularity, such an interest to your play, just like other plays are raising in Ukraine? Well, Andrii knows it's almost sold out. Obviously, I expect to see a lot of people. As an author, it's my second play, and to me it all seems incredible. I'm sitting here somewhere on the edge of fantasy. For example, Minotaur Festival was taking place in Kherson, Mykolaiv, and in Kyiv, Ivan Franko Theater. There was a huge demand, and there was a significant percentage of plays by modern Ukrainian authors, classic Ukrainian authors, but mostly Ukrainian. A lot of directors say that now what's popularized is the Ukrainian art. Previously it was mostly popularized abroad, and now we see more attention to Ukrainian authors, which is precious to us. But I know directors who stage Ukrainian authors for years now, who have been staging Ukrainian authors for years now. So it's only in Ukrainian language, it's only about our victory or something that is stimulating some support. For someone it may be re-traumatization, but for others it's important to to be put through that experience again. We have another play when Kherson was occupied. It's called You Cannot Stay. The actors tell their stories of occupation. Rima Zubina, for example, supported that project, and she's talking about her story. She's telling her story of a director, and back then it was only 2 weeks that I was out of occupation, but something was changing inside. It was important to watch it, and people have different demands. The demands of the people are changing. It's good. We're growing. And what I like to add is that the play was going on in Kherson, but we are quite active in Mykolaiv because there are a lot of Khersonians in Mykolaiv. And Mykola Academic Theater is our big friend and partner. We have a lot of joint projects, the Transporter, Kategoroshka against Vikings. We stage different plays on their scene and they enjoy huge demand. For example, starting from 2010, we have this play staged, Caution Women. We demonstrated in the scene of the Mykola Academic Theater, and we enjoy support of other theaters, Mykola National Theater, the Puppetry Theater, Kovac Culture and Arts Center. What's also valuable is the support of Kyiv's theaters. The Lesa Ukrainka Theater is where we staged the first plays. In Franco Theater we were close in Malkumena, and we have another project with Franco Theater, The Supper with Rock and Roll. We have cooperation with National Operetta. That was incredible chamber scene. First of all, it was an opportunity for the Khersonians to see each other and for us to work for not in a shelter but on the stage. Well, in the shelter we have a different type of atmosphere, but it's another type of opportunity to work standing on your feet, so to say. Now we're setting out on a tour with a play called Call Sign Sparrow. It will be demonstrated on the 6th of October during the Golden Lion Festival, and there will be a tour in other 4 cities. So let's get back to Make It 3 play. Mr. Andrii, tell us about your protagonist. What do you invest in this image, and what does this play means to you personally? Well, Kozlovsky Arts Sector, 5th and 6th of October, Kulish Theater. We need to talk about the theater now, and we need to talk about what's going on in the world of theater. It should be covered on a larger scale, because the state somehow doesn't speak a lot about that. They don't undertake any initiative, but probably it will be another representation of theirs in front of us. But we have to keep talking that the theater continues living. Ukrainians have a demand to find out what Ukrainianship is. There is a huge demand that was raised by the shut Renaissance generation. I came into a coffee shop, an Old Lion coffee shop, and there was no single book about Shizdesetniki. No one knows who it is, and it's probably a publisher's problem. I know Mokrik was issuing a riot against Empire. That was the book. Then Vyatrovich was touched upon different topics, marked top secret. So theater is now covering those topics, but we have to outline those topics without any illusions. We have to use art, but we have to use art to highlight the truth, what was going on. And getting back to our Make It 3 play, which is not related to any other periods that I've mentioned, that is not related to war, because war is omnipresent now. Everybody keeps talking about the war. It hurts, but there are stories that heal it through the love, just like our story, and people have to look for this love. And my character, based on what Alona has written, because we are still creating our characters, we're looking for them, and there was not sufficient time, but it took a little bit more than a month for us to put together this stage. We started rehearsals, and we keep planting it on and on. I was trying to find the story of my character based on the live people that I know, but unfortunately, to get a clear understanding that I have to act like someone I ever knew, well, unfortunately, it never happened to me. So this is why I started to sublimize all of the positive and negative sides of the characters. I love the negatives, though, but there are negative things in this of my characters. But don't be afraid, there are only 2 or 3 bad qualities. Everything is about the love, support of the significant other, holding on to each other. There are characteristic things in construction of my character, because my appearance is not in line with what was written. That's why I have to change physically. Well, this is how I build this character. You're gonna be surprised when you see him. Well, hopefully I will be able to embody a different kind of person, which is the most interesting thing for an actor, because everybody is used to your appearance and they right away assign some images to you. I refuse it in the cinema when I'm offered some lover protagonist or something like that. I told them like I had enough, and given the number of serials that are being produced now, well, I definitely had enough. Well, now the level has fallen. Russia doesn't invest in Ukrainian serials just as much as they used to invest. But there are still good serials, but I don't like what I'm being offered, and I'm telling them, give me some characters, give me something classy, something that would make it interesting for me to transform. And Vovchik, my protagonist in this Make It 3 play, he's different. I'm trying to make him different. I'm trying to transform him. Well, I'm basing everything on your words, taking the character arc, and I'm picking your words, and during every single rehearsal, I open something new. Because I'm getting this physics, this psychophysics, and it adds some amplitude, because it's not a dramaturgy where you can disclose your character in the very end of the play. It's a comedy, it's light, but still you want to invest right senses through your character. Well, there is an impression that the biggest surprise and the most intriguing this play will be for Miss Alona. Well, she is not expecting it. She needs to take some hard pills to swallow them right away to understand, okay, what have you done? I was writing the whole different thing, but no, everything's going to be all right. No worries. Well, if I were you, I would be frightened. So 5th and 6th of October, premiere, then 10th of October, Lviv. What's next? Any ideas of touring? Maybe submission to some international contests. You've already mentioned you have such an experience of winning with another play. So what are the plans with this play? Let me start, and Alona is about to finish. Nadia Ageeva-Shved, the director of this play, the one who is behind making of Jiva. For what I understand, this play was planned for Kozlovsky Center, but we wanted to make it to Melpomene. We haven't made it. We only had 2 weeks. It's impossible to put together a play within 2 weeks, but you have to invest all of your time and efforts. So as Alona mentioned, we're going to Golden Lions. So in Lviv, 10th of October, 18 o'clock, but it seems like it's sold out anyway. So just sign up for our social network pages. There are already plans for November. You will be able to see the premiere play of Make It 3. Well, because first 10 plays are considered to be premieres. Well, the first 100. Well, unfortunately, some of the plays don't make it to 100. That's why October 10, Golden Lion. And of course, we were building the play in a way we could travel with it across Ukraine. Again, we know, me and Nadia, we know each other since the university years, but we started being closer friends when we started communicating in Priluki, where I bring small theaters so that the periphery can also see some small plays, because unfortunately local culture houses don't fulfill their functions. They just live on a budget, so why making some effort to bring some plays? Something that would help people to recreate, something to educate them, to get them more inspired. Concerts, touring, that's real cool, but to make something profound in the periphery, I'm not talking about Priluki in particular, but in any town with a population up to 50,000 people, well, this is exactly why we've established Arsenal, and we bring small plays to the periphery. And we brought Jiva over there, so I think that Make It 3 will go to Priluki, Golden Lion. They will see the play 100% sure, and then we're going to play a tour, because why not? Again, it's the way we promote the art. Those sprints that I've mentioned, the sprints of Kulish theater, they're omnipresent, and let's not forget Bogdan Strutinsky, who is giving the lion's share of his energy to this organization, because again, it's about some bureaucratic obstacles that sometimes kill the art. Well, and on these wonderful words, he passed the floor to me. Well, it would be real cool to see spectators. It would be cool to see the plays being sold out. It's good if it continues, and we invite everybody in November, December to all of the plays that are gonna happen within those months. And after the occupation of the East Bank, it would be cool to show the play in Kherson. I've never mentioned that there are Kyiv and Kherson artists playing there, like Ivana Bogdun, Alexandra Tarnovska, famous in Kherson, Mr. Andrii Karpov, from Priluki, resident of Kyiv, who wants to go to Kherson. Well, he has relatives in Kherson, that's why we can't wait to see the deoccupation of the East Bank, to make sure that Make It 3 makes it over there. And I want to thank all of the collective. The decorations were made by Milana Skorik. The music score, well, you have to read it, because I don't remember. Mykola Shanovsky, makeup artist Adriana Tretyak, sound by Mikhailo Vorobyov, director assistant Veronika Voloshina and Vera Fedorenko. We want to thank all of them, because an incredible job was done by them, by the artists, by everybody who supported us, specifically the Kozlovsky Art Center, who let us in for rehearsals, and where the premiere is going to take place. The decorations are quite interesting. You know, I've only seen them in pictures and videos, but it looked very unusual. A couple of words about decoration. Well, we were showing the photos. People already have an idea of what's going on there. Yeah, we can launch those pictures again, but again, the director, Miss Nadia Ageeva-Shved, Well, it's also a usual play, but there are some storylines that go in an unusual way, because in my opinion it would be very sad, boring, and the play would look completely different. So it's a usual story with an unusual resolution, and this is how those decorations were made. We realize that as we move, the carton boxes help us a lot, and what happens to them next. To find out, come to Kozlovsky Center on 5th and 6th of October, follow our announcements, the announcements of our center Kozlovsky, sign up to their announcements, and you'll find out a lot more information. And please keep visiting the Kozlovsky Center. There's a lot of interesting things there. Thank you very much. So let me remind everybody, the premiere of Make It 3, meanwhile it's not yet sold out, October 5 and 6. Please come and see. And I want to wish you a premiere without air raid alerts, and I wish you show your play on the stage of Kherson as soon as possible. And Ukraine Media Center will continue next week. Keep track of our announcements. Our team is working on putting together the schedule for the next week. So thank you for staying tuned.